The bell had rung hours ago, but the school courtyard was still soaked in daylight, the kind of soft afternoon sun that stretched shadows across cracked concrete and made the dust glow gold. That was when Armin Halim noticed the girl. She was sitting alone on the steps near the locked classrooms, her backpack clutched tight against her chest, her shoulders shaking as silent tears rolled down her face. Armin was used to staying late. Poor teachers didn't rush home, they waited, cleaned, planned, and hoped. But something about the way that child cried, small and broken in the middle of such an ordinary day, stopped him in his tracks and changed everything he thought he knew about kindness, fate, and second chances. Before the story goes any further, if you believe that kindness can change lives and that second chances still matter in this world, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Single Dad Diaries. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Armin Halim was a substitute teacher barely surviving on a thin paycheck. His clothes were always neat but worn, his shoes polished but tired, just like him. He taught literature and history, not because it paid well, but because stories had once saved him when his own father died young and left his family with nothing but debt and memories. Every day, Armin gave his students more than lessons. He gave patience, warmth, and quiet encouragement, even when his own life felt stuck in a loop of unpaid bills and unanswered prayers. That afternoon, as sunlight poured through the school gates, he was thinking about how he would stretch a single meal into dinner when he noticed the girl crying. She was small for her age, maybe 8 or 9, with neatly braided hair that had come loose and a uniform that looked too expensive for the dusty schoolyard. Her name tag read Zara Qureshi. Armin recognized the surname but couldn't place it. What he did recognize was pain. The kind that doesn't come from scraped knees or failed tests, but from something heavier a child shouldn't have to carry. The other children had long gone home, their laughter fading into the streets, leaving Zara alone with her fear and confusion. Armin didn't ask questions right away. He sat a few steps away, careful not to scare her, letting the quiet afternoon wrap around them. He offered her his water bottle and a tissue from his bag, simple gestures that carried more comfort than words. Slowly, her breathing softened. The sun moved lower, and the sounds of traffic drifted in from beyond the school walls. Armin learned that Zara's driver hadn't shown up, that her phone was dead, and that she was scared because her mother used to be the one who never forgot her. Used to be. That single phrase explained everything without explaining anything at all. As the minutes passed, Armin realized this wasn't just a child waiting to be picked up. This was a child navigating grief. Zara's mother had died months earlier, and since then, life had become a blur of nannies, schedules, and silence. Her father was always busy, always somewhere else, and the world that once felt safe now felt empty and loud. Armin listened, not as a teacher, but as someone who knew what it meant to lose a parent and feel invisible afterward. What Armin didn't know was who Zara's father really was. He didn't know that Samir Qureshi was the CEO of one of the country's largest technology firms, a man whose face appeared on business magazines and conference banners. A man who had built empires but lost the one thing he couldn't replace. Samir had buried his wife in the same year profits skyrocketed, and since then, success meant nothing. His days were filled with meetings, his nights with grief he refused to face, and his home with a silence so deep it swallowed him whole. As the afternoon turned into early evening, Armin walked Zara to the school gate, holding her backpack strap so she wouldn't trip. He used his own phone to call the emergency contact number listed in the school records. When Samir finally arrived, stepping out of a sleek black car, his presence felt heavy, distracted, almost distant. He barely noticed Armin at first. He noticed his daughter clinging to the teacher's hand like it was the only solid thing left in her world. Something shifted in Samir then. He saw the tear-stained face of his child, the way she leaned into a stranger for comfort, and it pierced through the armor he'd built since his wife's death. Armin explained calmly what had happened, never accusing, never judging. Just facts, wrapped in empathy. Samir nodded, thanked him briefly, and drove away, but the image stayed with him all night. The realization that while he was running a company, another man was teaching his daughter how to feel safe again. Days turned into weeks. Zara began smiling more in class. Her grades improved. She waited after school again sometimes, not to cry, but to talk to Armin about books, about dreams, about missing her mother. Armin never crossed boundaries, he simply showed up, consistently, kindly, the way adults should. Meanwhile, Samir watched from a distance. He started arriving earlier, listening from the car as Zara laughed, noticing how she ran toward Armin with trust and warmth. Eventually, Samir invited Armin to his office, a place of glass walls and endless views. That was when Armin learned the truth. He sat across from a man who had everything money could buy and nothing that truly mattered anymore. Samir spoke about loss, about failure as a father, about the guilt of being present everywhere except where it counted. Armin didn't offer solutions. He offered understanding. He spoke of his own childhood, of how one kind teacher had once changed his path simply by caring. What followed wasn't charity. It was respect. Samir didn't hand Armin money. He funded a scholarship program at the school. He improved teacher salaries. He made changes that lasted. And at home, he made one more important change. He started coming back before sunset. He started listening. He started healing alongside his daughter. Before this story ends, please comment just one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your comments help this channel reach more hearts that need stories like this. On a bright afternoon months later, the school courtyard was full again, alive with noise and sunlight. Zara no longer sat alone. She ran freely, her laughter echoing against the walls. Armin stood nearby, watching, knowing he had simply done what felt right. Samir stood beside him, no longer a distant figure in a suit, but a father learning to live again. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that small acts of kindness can create ripples far beyond what we see, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Single Dad Diaries. Your engagement keeps these stories alive, and together, we can remind the world that compassion still matters.